Thank you. Hello, everyone. Oh, we're live. Great. Hope everyone can hear me. Just think we're going to wait a little bit for everybody to get in and we can start. Let's not waste too much time. In the meantime, I'm going to do the introduction. My name is Louise Ganza. I am here in my capacity of the founder of the Fuji Assist app. I'm the co-founder of the Sophie A. Kanza Foundation. We are a youth-led organization started in Johannesburg, South Africa in the year 2014. Come a long way since then. And one of the very important themes that we discuss and that we explore is Afrophobia against, so that is, it's like xenophobia, because xenophobia is the more common known term, but this is a specific one against African immigrants. I was born here, where I am right now in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and I moved to South Africa at the age of 3 years old. So I did all my education in South Africa. I lived in South Africa ever since, so from creche to university, and basically we speak about our experiences, I beg your pardon, about our experiences growing up and experiencing a different sort of discrimination that happened while we were growing up in South Africa. I'm just going to share my screen. I've prepared a presentation with more information about what I have discussed, and we are also going to watch a short film that I produced called Singabantu, and all the details. I will speak more about it after we have watched. I'm just going to request that I can share my screen, my presentation. Oh. There we go. Thank you.
Growing up as an asylum seeker in Johannesburg, I faced numerous levels of discrimination. There were no visible asylum seekers, refugees, or migrants on television, in the media, or in the We had no concept to make us believe that we could indeed break out of the stereotypical mold. So I became the person I needed growing up. My activism journey started when I co-founded a youth-led NGO that focused on the representation of youth asylum seekers, refugees, stateless people, and migrants. We were suffering in silence. Our pain was normalized. The extreme violence we were subjected to was normalized, and we were deemed voiceless. We started volunteer projects that brought migrant youth and local youth together in community building projects. We became accustomed to Afrophobic attacks periodically from around about the year 2008. But in 2017, it really came to our doorstep. Our area in Rosettenville became a war zone.
it will carry on.
We were crippled with fear and had to remain indoors, as we were once again reminded that this might feel like home, but it is not your home. We refused to remain silent. We had to speak, to share our stories in our own voices. It had never been done before in Southern Africa. We set out to create a campaign that would one day change the malicious policies and in essence humanize us. Our short film, Singabantu, was born. Let's watch it.
I am more than just Ikwerekwe.
Why can't I be more than just a car guard?
A pimp,
A drug lord?
a job thief, the face of cheap labor.
I am more than just a foreigner.
Why do you insist on killing my soul with your words?
Go back to your country.
Go back to your country.
You don't belong here.
Why am I not good enough for you?
Go back to your country. You don't belong here.
Why do you look at me in the eyes, with skin as black as mine, and deny me as your brother?
What about me? Look at me. Think of all the dreams that we have in common. I am Zambian. I am your colleague.
I am Congolese.
I am Malawian, and I am human.
I am South African, your sister of the soil. I am Zimbabwean, and I am your neighbor.
I am your friend.
I wanted to create something that was short yet impactful. I wanted to create something on an intergenerational medium that could live online, on television, and on mobile phones. This 1 minute and 39-second film propelled our stories and our voices to an international audience traveling at the speed of light. It has been viewed in more than 30 countries on 4 continents and is the winner of the UNAOC Plural Plus Youth Migration Film Festival Awards. Singabantu was chosen as the official video for the Trace Africa, Africa Month campaign, screening our film to millions of viewers in 28 African countries, starting much needed conversations around the continent. We used the film as a centerpiece to an e-activism campaign that later spilled out into an international lobbying and advocacy campaign. Our zero-budget, volunteer-driven project afforded us the platform no asylum seeker has ever seen. I was afforded the opportunity to consult with national and international television channels, events, and awards, including the prestigious Diana Award. I was also fortunate to consult on the addition of xenophobia to the hate speech bill through our Afrophobia conversation events, safe spaces for dialogue in tense communities. Singabantu's success is the fruit of pain, hard work, and strategy. Some of my proudest work includes contributing to the UNICEF Youth Advocacy Guide, talking about how videos and short films can be used to raise awareness on social issues. Again, I and becoming the mentor I so desperately needed growing up. In 2019, I was chosen as a member of the international jury for the UNAOC Plural Plus Youth Migration Awards. And I always say that videos and film allow us to relate and connect on a human level, something no report or research project can do.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and thank you so much for tuning into the video, my video presentation. I will take some questions, but before I take some questions, well, while the questions come in, I would just like to talk about being qualified to be an activist or to be an e-activist, and how my story relates to that. So Singabantu was the first short film that I produced, and I did produce a follow-up one after that, but Singabantu was the most successful one. And it's not because I did any type of research or gained any type of qualifications to produce the short film. I just had an idea that was very real, very genuine and relevant. I worked on the script, and I got some friends together. Only one, believe it or not, only one of the participants in the video is a professional performer. The rest of us were amateurs. And we also had a friend who had some professional equipment to make the video. So I don't think you have to wait to have any special type of equipment or any special type of qualifications, or you have to feel good enough about yourself to be able to take a step to become an activist. And I can say this because I did mention that we started the foundation, the Sophia Ikanza Foundation, in 2014. And we started it with 200 Rand. We just got our friends together on a Saturday afternoon, and we just bought some snacks and some juice, and we decided to go and share that at a local orphanage. And that's another way that you can get into activism. Yes, there are a lot of prominent and established NGOs out there that accept volunteers. That's true, and it would probably be a good idea to just shadow or participate in those kind of events, just to get an idea of what is expected. But I would really encourage the youth, anyone who considers themselves to be someone who would like to make a change, to not delay and hesitate because of things like imposter syndrome and waiting for the perfect moment, waiting to have a certain type of qualification, a degree, or a certain level of experience. Life is already complicated on its own when you're at school or when you're at work and you have to be good enough and you get the rejections. This is something very good that you can do, and it doesn't take a lot, and in the long run it will help you, because volunteer work forms part of a lot of experience. You can qualify that as experience when you're applying for a job, or when you're I think at school as well. Yes, at school as well. You get I know some degree programs require volunteer work. We have a question. Okay, so our objectives as when we started being full-time activists working against xenophobia. Sorry, excuse me. Let me read the entire question. What do you people think are some of your, I think, objectives as people that are following the talks? Despite the sharing that you have given us, it would be necessary on your part, to know your objectives and expectations during this time. Okay, so what initially, before we became full on xenophobic, activists against Afrophobia, excuse me, we, growing up in Johannesburg, specifically, Johannesburg is a migrant city, and we had a lot of, as much as we had a lot of negative interactions, we also had a lot of positive interactions with the local community. And we noticed that when we would get together on a Saturday afternoon, it was very fruitful to get these conversations going between youth from different countries and different backgrounds. So someone who had a specific hate or a specific feeling towards an African migrant would be paired up with one, and they would have to then work together to make sure that a task is completed. So it was very impactful, because then these people even ended up being friends. And I think with hate in general, when people have biased or unrealistic views towards a certain group, when they end up interacting and working together, they end up seeing that the person that they are prejudiced against is human. And that is what the message that we wanted to get across. And as much as Singabantu is about Afrophobia, I think it goes across any type of hate, any type of prejudice. If you just remove that, you just put it in the context, it works just as well. That we are human, and we are human before we are anything else. Yes. We have another question. How do you become a part of the UN? Do you have eligible requirements? Okay, so what I had mentioned is the short film that had won the award at the UN AOC, and that I was last year approached as an alumni to be a member of the international jury. So yes, it's the UN, but it's the UN AOC, which is the United Nations Alliance of Civilization. And they have a film festival about migration called the Plural Plus Film Festival. And if you are interested in making a film to speak about migration, I would definitely encourage you to participate in that. If you'd like to make a film similar to the one that I had, you can check out their website. They have all the previous winners, all the previous women in the videos, if you would like to get some inspiration. And of course, you are more than welcome to get into contact with me should you need any type of advice about your video, or about anything else that concerns the topic, or even more. We never know. Yes. Is there another question? Okay, I'm going to speak about our volunteering events and our fundraising events that we had following the success of the short film. So everything that we ended up doing was organized by us, and we were able to fund those through our fundraising events. I will ask our Facebook page to be shared as well, so that everyone can get into that. Congratulations on your film, extremely impactful work. Mind telling us about your other film? Also, what are some of the ways of measuring e-activism impact? Okay, so my other film is called Kumi, which is, Kumi means 10 in a number of African languages, which was why it was very important for us to use words such as Kumi, as powerful as Kubi, because it transcends borders, it crosses borders, which is one of the issues. And Kumi was 10 because we made that film in 2018, And that was 10 years after the very big wave of xenophobic attacks that had hit South Africa, where over 100 people lost their lives and thousands of others were displaced. And since then, there have been sporadic xenophobic attacks, and it was just where are we now compared to 10 years ago? What has been done, and what are the wins and what are the failures of the government regarding where we are in terms of preventing Afrophobia and confronting the issue, admitting that there is an issue, and finding ways to move on, to coexist, and to help African immigrants integrate and assimilate into society. Ways of measuring e-activism. This is it's quite a difficult one in the social media age, where the most important thing would be we assume that the most important thing is following, having the amount of a high amount of following or a high amount of likes. That's why I think our page, we have about 3,000 likes on our Facebook page, but we're still able to be as impactful, and we still have all those accolades to our names. So I think it's very important not to measure the amount of followers, the amount of views, the amount of likes. You do the work speaks for itself, and you will be able to be recognized from the work that you do, and not necessarily from your following. Yes. Beautiful. I love the answer. However, who are you guys representing? Is it Africa or Zimbabwe, South Africa, Nigeria, or Congo? Okay, so we are passionate about Pan-Africanism. And if you're familiar, I'm not sure if you're familiar with how with the dynamics of Afrophobia in South Africa, but we're not necessarily, so all of us together, as we mentioned in the video. So we have a South African, we have a Zimbabwean, we have a Congolese, and we have a Malawian represented in the video. But all in all, it's about Africa. It's about Africa, Pan-Africanism, bringing Africa together, us as Black people, basically, yes. And I'd also like to speak about the Refugee Assist application and the importance and the inspiration behind it. So we have a lot of, as asylum seekers and refugees, migrants, stateless people in South Africa, there are a lot of administrative issues regarding documentation, for example, or being able to use the documents that are issued by the Department of Home Affairs. So that would be a Section 22 or a Section 24 permit. And the challenge that mostly exists is just at general administrative tasks. So registering your kids at school, opening a bank account, having access to reliable information, being able to frequently renew the permit. So having access to goods and services, being able to qualify for specific funding, or to qualify to rent out an apartment, for example, or getting a job. There's a lot of red tape that exists that blocks people that have these Section 22 and 24 permits, or stateless people who do not have any documents. So and it's also important to note that stateless people are not necessarily people that are from other African countries or from outside of the country. Even some South African people, South African by right, South African by birthright, with South African great-grandparents who are stateless because they are not documented. So it's important to notice that as well. But the issue comes in then when people who fall under this category are not able to have access to goods and services. They are not able to interact and even at times we've heard about people being turned away. I know there was a story in the media about people being turned away from the hospital. I remember there was a story in the media about a lady who gave birth on the Gautrain because she was denied care at the hospital. She was in labor and she did not have an ID, so she was turned away. Those kind of things, those kind of occurrences that happen. So Fuji is just, so the Fuji app is trying to bridge a gap between access to goods and services for people that are disadvantaged in this way. For example, there are certain banks and certain branches. This is a simple example. Certain banks and certain branches that open bank accounts for asylum seekers. So this way, they would be able to have the information about about the location, about where to open these bank accounts and where to access. Like during COVID, when there was the 350 Rand grant, it was only given to people who had IDs. So there were certain organizations that were providing food parcels, for example, to the asylum seeker community. So then something like the Fuji Assist app would help them have access to the information that concerns accessing things like food parcels or emergency alerts when tensions are high. Just in general, helping them to get some help. Here's another question. Thank you for your insight. According to your observation, in what ways does Afrophobia look like and play out in the continent versus in the diaspora? Okay, I don't think Afrophobia is, not that I don't think, I know Afrophobia is not unique to South Africa. I'm going to speak about Afrophobia on the African continent, even in, it's not something that started existing today. I'm not sure if everyone or if anyone is familiar with Ghana Must Go, which happened in the late 60s, where there was an issue between Nigeria and Ghana, and the Nigerian authorities were also going on, they were publicly calling for the expulsion of Ghanaians in their country. And as much as they've moved on for that, this, as I said, is something that we have seen before. And there was a similar situation with the two Congos as well, with Rwanda. These are tensions that do exist. So this is something that is not unique to South Africa, but since it's based on my experience, it's based on what I have experienced personally in South Africa. And also, I think South Africa has gained a notorious reputation for being Afrophobic, and I think it's high time that this changes, that we change the sentiment. Okay, your Afrophobia awareness work, does it include partnerships or direct work with helping the LGBTQ people who often seek refuge in SA or other somewhat queer-friendly countries on the continent or elsewhere? Yes, it does. And this goes back to what I was mentioning earlier about having a certain hate. If you take Singabantu, which is the center of the work that we do basically, and you remove Afrophobia and you speak about, you add, let's say you add homophobia or transphobia in the same aspect, it results in the same thing, that we are human. We have been fortunate enough to collaborate with some organizations that are proudly queer friendly. And yes, we had a friend that actually thought he was Kenyan. I don't think it would be safe to mention his name because he had to leave. He had to leave South Africa because his claim was denied. He came from Kenya because he was a victim of homophobia. And so he has moved on to another country now, but that was something that we were very vocal about at the time. Yes. Are you part of the acting crew, or your role is exclusive to producing and writing? Thank you everyone for your questions. I keep forgetting to thank you for your questions. So I am definitely not part of acting, and I am not part of producing or writing. All of this was my first time doing the producing, the writing, and the acting. But I'm not going to take all the credit for it. I worked with an amazing team. As you can see, they're all a team of friends. They're all supportive. They supported our causes from the start. And I had my sister, Sophie Kanza. So she's the Sophie A. Kanza from the Sophie A. Kanza Foundation. And she's amazing. She basically does everything for me. She motivates me. She has been trying to knock imposter syndrome out of my system. And so we worked hand in hand to produce that, which is why I was saying that it's so important to believe in yourself. And if you can produce, it's not, I think a lot of us have smartphones and we can produce good bodies of work. It's the same as when you want to take a good picture to post on social media. You put all that effort into it. It looks professional. It looks good. It gets a message across. You're passionate about it. When you're really and truly passionate about something, when it comes out, it will come out as if you were born to do this, or you've done this before. And I think it's very important that we use the resources that we have and the time that we have, because now we have been forced basically to resort to e-activism, which makes activism through film even more important. And I've also realized that in general, we become more and more lazy to read. So film is a very good way to produce, even film or art, visual media is a very good way to get your message across in a faster way as well. So we have a request. Can you please show us Kumi? I will have to. I can share that I will be able to share that just before we log out. I would like to take some more questions, and to those that I have, to those whose questions I have answered, please let me know if I have answered them. I have answered them to the best. I think I've answered them to the best of my abilities, but just let me know if you would require more information about the questions. Some other questions. Keep it up, you're composed. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That means a lot to me. Sorry, as I did mention that we are becoming more and more lazy to read. I'm not an exception to the rule. That's why scanning. Okay, great. I think we're ready to show Kumi. Kumi is different from Singabantu because we were able to get a perspective from children, which is always so interesting, because I actually prefer to get the perspective of children because they are more open and they are more honest. And sometimes I wish we could go back to being children, because that way we would be more open and more honest about how we feel. Thank you, Louise. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the compliments. Well, everyone here is so kind. All right. Let me, and also another thing about the children being in the video is that we learn where these ideas come from. We learn the root of where the ideas come from. Because if a 5-year-old is saying that foreigners need to go back to their country, it exposes that there's a problem from the root, from the parenting. And this is where we would have to change the ideas. So everyone always has something negative to say about, oh, millennials this, millennials that. But us as millennials, we are becoming parents, and we need to feed new ideas into our children and into our colleagues, our friends. I mean, when it comes to topics such as Afrophobia, if you go to a braai and you find an aunt or an uncle, cousin, whatever it might be, using slurs like makwerekwere, kwangs, and things like that, and they say they don't mean it in a harmful way, or it's not offensive, I think it starts with you. So if you can call that person out about how dangerous these terms are, and how it can have consequences, which is the same for any type of hate. I like that. It would be, you could take it upon yourself. Activism doesn't just start when you have an organization, or when you're doing amazing things and you're winning awards. It starts at home. So if it's Christmas and your uncle is saying offensive things, you let your uncle know that it's not okay. All right, I am going to share my screen so that we can watch Kumi.
Xenophobia is something that comes from Black people who hate someone from another country. Izonke abantu abalwayo ukuphila eNingizimu Afrika. I was born here, but then originally I'm from Uganda. Yes, I think that there's too many foreigners in South Africa, but I don't have a problem with that. They took jobs for us. They cause crime. They are making them to feel like they are owning South Africa. That's the biggest problem I'm living. One good thing about foreigners being outside, we know that they're types of food are like, and bring us some goods that we don't have here in South Africa, that help us to have some jobs. They tell us ways of how to care for one another, which here in South Africa you can never find. Yeah, other kids for they treat them badly, tease us, and call us bad names that you don't like. As a prefect, yeah, I report. I avoid them because I know that here we are one. There's no need for me to stress. Classmate is from Mexico. Congolese, Zimbabwe, Angola, and
other which are thousands. Malawi, Zenda.
Things will change in South Africa when we call foreigners back and leave.
People who are not foreigners, they will find jobs and don't used to stay. Those who are staying in a hotel bed like us.
We all came here to build our future. Then if we go back, for the better.
Forina nathi awukhuleshulu siyafana. So well, same people, same image, same answers from God.
That I, as a person, I do not discriminate. There's always that saying, one for all for one.
So we have come to the end of our session, and I would like to thank everyone for participating. Thank you so much for all your questions, and thank you Breaking Down Borders for Breaking Down Borders Africa for giving us the opportunity to speak about our work. So anyone who's interested in e-activism, anyone who's interested in participating in any type of youth video festivals, I am 100% open to giving you any advice or speaking to you about that and letting you know about my experiences. And yeah, as we said at the end of Singabantu, I'm your neighbor, I'm your sister, I'm your friend. And yes, I genuinely mean that. So thank you very much and have a good evening.